welcome back to Bake Along with JennyBake. Today I'm going to show you how to make a really simple loaf of bread. And the beauty of this recipe is that today I'm going to be making a granary loaf, but you can use the same recipe to make either a white loaf of bread or a wholemeal loaf of bread. You just change the flour that you're using. You do need to use bread flour for this. It won't work with normal plain flour or self-raising flour, so you're looking out for the strong bread flour. And you can get that in most supermarkets. Okay, so let's just talk through the equipment that we're going to need for today's recipe. So first of all, you need a decent sized mixing bowl, such as this. You need a loaf tin to bake your bread in. This is a 2-pound loaf tin, or 900 grams. And that's been lightly greased with a small bit of oil. So you just put a drop of oil in and smooth it around to grease it. If you haven't got a loaf tin, you can still use this recipe to make bread rolls, in which case you just need a flat baking sheet. Okay, let's talk through the ingredients. So you'll need 500 grams of bread flour. As I said, I'm making granary today, so this is granary flour, but you can use white or wholemeal flour. Just a quick word on the wholemeal flour. So it does tend to make quite a dense loaf of bread. So if this is your first go at making bread, it might be advisable to remove some of the wholemeal flour and replace it with white flour and mix the two together so you get a lighter loaf. Then we need 7 grams of yeast. We're using this fast action yeast, which comes in sachets like this. Each sachet is already 7 grams, so there's no need to weigh that, you just add 1 sachet to your flour. We're going to use a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of oil. I've got vegetable oil here because that's what I've got in stock, but you could also use olive oil. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of runny honey. This is the runny stuff, not the set stuff. And then finally we've got here 300 millilitres of warm water. Now it's really important that your water isn't too hot because that can kill the yeast and stop the bread from rising. So I've put in here 200 mils of cold water from the tap and topped it up with 100 mils of just boiled water from the kettle, and that's about right. You need to be able to put your hands in and it's not too hot. You can dip your hands in there. Okay, so let's get going. This is really easy. So first of all, we take our flour that we've weighed out, 500 grams, and tip that into your mixing bowl. Like so. The next step is to add your yeast. So get your sachet, cut it open, and add that to one side of your bowl. So all together, just on one side of your bowl. Next, your yeast. So I'm using this set of measuring spoons to get a really accurate amount, and this one here is equivalent to 1 teaspoon. If you don't have a set of these, you can just use a teaspoon out of your drawer. So I'm going to put my salt onto the spoon. Now that's a level teaspoon. Just make sure that's level, like so. Now you need to put this in the bowl the opposite side to the yeast. So don't just sprinkle it all on, put it on one side. So you've got yeast on one side and the salt on the other. And again, the reason for that is if you put the salt next to the yeast, it can actually kill the yeast, stop it from working if it combines too early. So you need them on separate sides of the bowl, that's really important. Now we're going to add our liquid ingredients. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of oil. 1, dip it in. 2, dip it in. 1 tablespoon of runny honey. And a good tip here, I'm going to use this same spoon that has got the oil on, because you'll find then that the honey just falls off it really easily. It doesn't stick to the spoon. Okay. And then finally we're going to add in our water, so just pour that into the bowl. all your ingredients. And now the fun, messy bit. You're going to have to stick your fingers into this, I'm afraid. It's the best way of mixing it all together. And you're just going to bring it together into a dough before we tip it out and start kneading. So put your fingers in, don't be afraid, just mix it all around. And it will start to come together. It will be quite sticky to start with, and just tip that out onto your work surface. Okay, there's our bread. Now you're going to need to sprinkle some flour over your work surface to stop it from sticking. So I should have done this before really, because now I've got very sticky fingers. Put some flour over the surface like so, and spread it out. Okay. And we're going to knead this dough for between 5 and 10 minutes. And the idea is that it goes from being quite sticky to start with to being really smooth and elastic. So to do this, so you have to knead bread. So put your dough on your floured work surface. You can see that in the camera. And you sort of turn it in on itself and press it down and start to try and stretch it out a little bit. And just keep going like that. I tend to move it around in a circle as I'm going. And just persevere, because it will get less sticky the more you knead it. Like that. Roll it around. You're really firm with it. This is really good if you're feeling angry or upset, to get rid of all of that and put it all into the bread. As I said, it will stick to your hands to start with, but you need to keep going through that sticky phase until it gets smoother and easier. Don't be tempted to add a whole load of extra flour, because it will spoil the texture if you finish the loaf. Now for about 8 minutes. As you can see, it's actually a really good workout for your arm muscles, so watch out, Mr. Smith. This could be competition for your fitness videos. In fact, I might rename it Baker Size with Mrs. Price. It's a really good workout. Anyway, as you can see now, the dough has lost its stickiness, so I can knead it on the worktop without it sticking. It's nice and smooth, and you can sort of stretch it apart without it breaking, so that's what we're looking for. Okay, right, so that's ready. So we get our baking tin and we're going to put our bread in here to prove. Now if you're making bread rolls, what you need to do at this stage is divide your dough into 8, shape them into rolls and put them on a baking tray, and then follow the same instructions from there. So we're going to make it into a bit of a sausage shape, like so, and put it in our tin like that. Now this needs to prove, and that's the process in which the yeast starts to work, and it should hopefully double in size. Now it's going to take roughly an hour, and there's different ways to do this. So I'm really lucky, I've got an oven with a dough proving function on it, which means I set the oven to a really, really low temperature and pop the bread in there, and it just keeps it a little bit warm and helps the bread to rise. If you don't have that, just find a warm spot in your house, so perhaps a sunny windowsill or something like that. And if not, you can just leave it on your worktop, and depending on the temperature in the room, it will still rise. You might just have to wait a little bit longer for it to double in size, but actually that's better really, because if you're not in a rush, because the flavour is better the longer it takes for the yeast to work. Okay, but for the purposes of today, I'm going to put mine in my proving oven for about an hour, so it's at least double in size and be nicely risen. Hello again. So my bread has now been proving for about an hour in my proving oven. As you can see, it's grown quite a lot. It's filled the tin and risen above it, so that's the kind of thing we're looking for. So that'll be ready to go into the oven. So you need to preheat your oven to 200 degrees if you've got a normal oven, electric oven, 180 degrees if you've got an electric fan oven, and that's gas mark 6 if you've got a gas oven. And that's going to bake in that oven then for 30 to 35 minutes. So before we put it in, we're going to cut 3 slashes in the top of the dough. That'll just help it to rise a little bit. So get a really sharp knife, and you're literally just going to slash across 1, 2, 3, just in one go. So 1, 2, 3. It will start to sink a little bit when you do that, but that's absolutely fine because it's going to rise back up nicely in the oven. Okay, so here's my finished loaf. It was in the oven for 30 minutes altogether, and you can tell it's done when it's nicely risen and nice and golden brown on the top. One good test to see if it's ready, when you turn it out of the tin, you tip your bread upside down and tap the bottom. You should get a hollow sound, and that's a good indicator that your bread is cooked. As you can see, I couldn't resist already taking a slice warm out of the oven and slathering it with butter and jam. Absolutely delicious, and I hope you enjoy your bread too. Thank you very much.